we have another great article by Forbs and David Axe that for the first time since 2022, Ukraine may have a tank advantage over Russia. For the first time in Russia's 35-month wider war on Ukraine, the Ukrainians may have a tank advantage over the Russians, but only along certain stretches of the 800-mile front line. Our tanks can only operate from covered positions, one Russian blogger complained in a long missive translated by Estonian analyst War Translated. Reduced to firing from camouflage positions miles behind the front line, Russian tanks are essentially inaccurate howitzers, and not the assault-leading combat vehicles their designers intended. By contrast, Ukrainian tanks operate more freely, the blogger claimed. It all comes down to drones, as is often the case in a war that is increasingly dominated by robotic systems of all types. The enemy has achieved sufficient scale and variety in its drones and has honed its tactics for their use, the blogger explained. Anywhere along the front line where the Ukrainians have managed to deploy 2 company-sized drone groups, each with a few dozen operators, Russian tanks simply don't reach the line for launching an attack, according to the blogger. They get droned miles behind the line of contact. Ukrainian tanks enjoy safer airspace, the blogger claimed. Our drone operations are much weaker, owing to intensive Ukrainian radio jamming and poor quality control in drone manufacturing overseen by corrupt Kremlin bureaucrats. So Ukrainian tanks can roll right up to the line of contact to directly engage Russian forces with their cannons and machine guns. The Russians' only salvation is their abundant stocks of shoulder-fired anti-tank guided missiles, the blogger wrote. The Ukrainians' purported tank advantage as the wider war grinds toward its 4th year represents a reversal since 2022. Back then, Ukrainian brigades rarely used direct fire with tanks, owing to Russia's huge advantage in artillery and air power. Tiny drones and drone jammers hadn't yet transformed the battlefield and tilted the tank advantage toward Ukraine. The exception to this alleged new dynamic is in Kursk Oblast in western Russia, where a strong Ukrainian force is fighting to retain control of 250 square miles of Russian soil it seized back in August. The Kremlin has supplied its regiments and brigades in Kursk with the best fiber-optic drones, which are controlling via signals traveling through thin cables and can't be jammed by traditional means. The Russians' fiber-optic drones helped blunt a Ukrainian attack along the northern edge of the Kursk salient on January. Evidence abounds of the new jam-proof drones striking Ukrainian tanks, including the best American-made M1 Abrams and German-made Leopard 2s. But the Kremlin only supplies the new drones to priority sectors, including Kursk, the blogger explained. That leaves units in other sectors to make do with drones that often don't work. And when they do work, are promptly grounded by Ukrainian jamming. The Ukrainians' drone advantage has become a tank advantage as the war has ground on. Russian anti-tank missiles blunt this advantage, but the main reason the Ukrainians can't leverage their armored edge to roll back recent Russian gains may be a persistent shortage of infantry. While they may lack the infantry to hold large areas, they remain a formidable opponent, the blogger warned. The heavy bomber UAV Baba Yaga destroys a Russian ammo depot belonging to the 810th Separate Guards Marine Brigade in Plakovo, Kursk region. The 109th Separate Mountain Assault Battalion destroyed a Russian BM-21 Grad MLRS. The BM-21 Grad multiple launch rocket system is a highly effective and dangerous weapon system due to its versatility, firepower, and ability to overwhelm enemy positions with sheer volume of rockets. A single Grad launcher can fire 40 rockets in about 20 seconds. When used in groups, which is common, entire areas can be saturated with devastating explosions in moments. Russian military bloggers sometimes come up with the most unbelievable nonsense. Here's one with 300,000 plus followers who claims that only Russia can save Europe because the US supposedly wants to destroy it. This is the same Russia whose GDP is 8 times smaller than that of the EU. And yet, this is a popular Russian blogger. Europe has almost no chance of survival left. The United States is methodically destroying it. The main competitors of the US are the economies of Europe and China, not Russia. Unfortunately, before the special military operation, Russia was a resource-driven state that built its economy on resource sales rather than on technology. Meanwhile, Europe and China are technology-based economies. Look at the statistics, for example, on how many manufacturing facilities have shut down in Germany and where those facilities have been relocated. You'll be surprised to learn that it's to the United States. The only thing that can save Europe is Russia, as strange as that may sound. And what about the Hamlet? The Hamlet is nothing, just puppets whose task is to play their part. They influence nothing and are of no interest in the long term. Russian UFC fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov removed from Alaska Airlines flight in Las Vegas for his bizarre behavior when asked if he will assist passengers in case of an emergency while being seated in the emergency exit row. Nurmagomedov was offered a regular seat, but he refused. It's totally unclear why did he acted that way.
Know how to help people, and now you guys, because this woman don't understand what she's talking about.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're either going to have you switch your seat because my flight attendants are not allowing you to sit in the exit row, or you're going to have to get off this plane and then we'll have to because they're not comfortable sitting in the emergency exit row. My flight attendants. And unfortunately, it is fair.
It's not fair.
Yes, it is.
You guys do this thing when I was making check-in, they asked me, do I know it? Yes, I said
they said yes. I understand that, but it's also off of their judgment. I'm not going to do this back and forth. I will call a supervisor. You can either take a different seat, or we can go ahead and escort you off the plane. Which one are we doing?
We're gonna meet you.
Okay, I'll call a supervisor, and then we're going to have to rebook you for a different flight. Josh, do you copy?
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.